Hey everyone, welcome back. Today is November 2022 and it's getting a little bit cool in the air, so I think it's time to winterize the trailer. Today I'm going to run down the procedure that I use on the Alto F1743 with the Truma system. I'm going to show you how to do it, why we do it, and how to bypass the hot water tank heater as well. So stick around and let's jump right into it. So one of the first steps that I perform in winterizing my trailer is I drain out the fresh water tank, and I pretty much did that the last time I was out on my trip, but I'll show you where the drain is. So behind the driver's side wheel are two lines, a blue line and a blue line. The blue line that goes upwards, vertical, is the one that goes into the cabin of the trailer, and the one that is horizontal is the one that comes from the fresh water tank. You can see it over there hooking up. So what you want to do is, because this is a low point drain, is you want to open this pedcock by turning it counterclockwise. A little bit of water should come out. Like I said, we've drained it down pretty much all the way the last time we were out, so there isn't much left in the system, but it gives us a couple dribbles. When we're done, we'll shut it off. We'll move on to the inside. Okay, so now we're inside the Alto, and we're going to start by opening up the kitchen sink to allow pressure to be relieved and also to give it a vacuum break. So we'll open up the sink, we'll stand up our wash tube, and we'll go over to our control valve and we'll center it so that it's equally distributed between hot and cold, because there are two different systems. Then we're going to open that. What that allows is, if there's any pressure in the system, it will come out of this valve into the sink. Also, as we're draining down the system, it can draw air through this. Because it's higher than the system we're draining down, it's going to need some way of getting that water out of the system. So now we're going to go down underneath the passenger side bed, and we're going to look at the valving that we have in here. So we're going to open this, which is our hot water bleed valve. We're going to go back here to this yellow lever. We're going to lift that up. That's our hot water fill. Goes in the bottom of the Truma heater. And this is our pressure relief valve. We're just going to stand that up to give it an additional point for draining. And now we're just going to wait till everything drains out, and we're going to come back to it. These two valves here are going to get rotated, and I'll talk about those in the next clip. Stand by. Okay, so we've drained the system down, we've checked underneath, and there's nothing else coming out, draining out of the system, so we're good to go. What we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the valves, and we're going to put them back in the original position we found them in. So this valve here, we're going to close that. We're also going to flip down the yellow lever in the back here so that it's horizontal, meaning that the valve is closed, and also the pressure relief valve arm will be back down in its normal position. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bypass the hot water heater. We don't want any antifreeze going into the system for the hot water heater during winterization. So these two valves are your answer. Turn them both so that the pointers are pointing like this. So now what happens is, instead of the water going through the hot water heater and coming back out, it's just going to go around it. We don't want any antifreeze going into the hot water heater during the winterization process. So here we are back with our old friend, the water pump. The water pump is going to help us pressurize the system by drawing antifreeze into the system and forcing it through all the outlets as we open them and bleed out the air or any water that's left over. So what we're going to do is we're going to install a short pipe down here, and I'll show you what that looks like. You can make one yourself, and I'll give you the information on that as well at the end of the video. So stand by. So what we're going to do now is we're going to undo the delivery suction side of the water pump to allow us to draw in winterization antifreeze. What I like to do is put a rag underneath the pipe so it doesn't leak all over the floor. Undo this nut. It's a hand-tight nut. Should be pretty easy. And once it's undone, just separate it from the pump, pull it back out of the way. You're not going to break anything as long as you don't wrap it around the pump itself. And now we're going to install our short hose, which goes on here. Again, only hand-tight. So now I don't know if you can see that or not, but we've got that pipe in there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to install this end into our antifreeze jug and draw it into the system. Okay, we've got our jug of good old Canadian Tire antifreeze for RVs here. We're going to take our hose and wrap it around and put it inside. So now basically this acts as your water tank. It's going to draw it into the system. So we're going to go back over to the pump now and turn it on. And because the kitchen sink is the furthest point away, we're going to use that as our starting point. I'm going to close the valve, remove our stopper, and turn on our water pump. You can hear it running. It's going to take a minute or two to build up some pressure. We'll start by flipping it down to the hot side and wait till we get that pink solution coming out. It's still water, so you know we're flushing it out. And there's our pink. Go to cold now. Do the same on that side. And there's our pink. So we'll close that off now. So at this point we've done two things. We've winterized the pipes all the way to the kitchen sink, and we've also installed some antifreeze in the P-trap that is underneath the sink, which also needs to have antifreeze in it because any regular water that's in that would crack it and it would leak the next time you used it next summer. So let's go ahead and move into the bathroom and we'll do that one as well. I know it's not a pretty sight, but we're going to start with the toilet. So we're just going to turn it on and get the pink stuff coming out. It's just water and there's our pink, so we can stop. We're also going to use the winterization process on this little guy here. Okay, we're going to give this thing some bleeding. Okay, so we've done the toilet and the rinser as well. Now we're going to do the shower. So what we're going to do with the shower is we're going to open both hot and cold, and we're going to drain them into the toilet. Then at the end, we're going to poke it down the drain hole for the shower, which is down there, just to put a little bit of antifreeze into the P-trap like we did in the kitchen. So we'll go ahead and open these valves. And we're going to move over here and give it a squirt into the toilet. Okay, we've got our pink solution coming out, and I'm going to go over here, put it in the hole, and just give it a shot. There we go. Now we know we've got some of that antifreeze in the P-trap for the shower drain as well. Okay, so one caution you'll find in your owner's manual for Safari Condo is you want to reinstall the plug for the P-trap drain in the bathroom. If you don't do that and your gray tank is somewhat full and you go around a corner, it could slosh out. So reinstall that, tighten it down, and you should be good to go. We like our starfish on top as well. Now that we're finished inside, we're going to come outside and give the shower for the outside the same treatment. So come around to your shower, open up your door. What we'll do is we'll turn on our hot water, pull out our shower and just give it a quick squirt and make sure we've got pink coming out. We're good. We're going to go back to it, turn on the cold, turn off the hot, give it the same treatment. And we're good. So now turn them both off and just give it a little bleed. Make sure there's no residual pressure in it. And tuck it back in for the winter. And that's it for the outside shower. Okay, so we're pretty much done. We've used a half a container of RV antifreeze. We've put it into all the lines and anything that's important, like the foot valve in the toilet or the shower lines or what have you, the P-traps. Pretty confident the process works for this trailer. We had some pretty cold winters last year and nothing was damaged. I have some friends that didn't properly winterize and broke their foot valve on their toilets, and that's an expensive repair. So we're going to go ahead and button up the system. What we're going to do is we're going to remove the pipe for the delivery of the antifreeze and put back the freshwater pickup. But we're going to put some paper towel underneath it because it is going to back leak a little bit, and we don't want that stuff all over because it's kind of sticky. Okay, so we went ahead and reinstalled the freshwater pickup from the freshwater tank. Again, this nut should only be hand tight, not much more than that. We don't want to crack the nut or damage the water filter because we can't bypass the water filter. This pipe isn't designed for it. We'd have to get another one before we could move on and go trailering. So right now, as it stands, the freshwater tank is empty, the pickup pipe is empty, but everything upstream of the pressure side of the pump has the antifreeze in it, including all the lines you see here that deliver to the outside, the shower inside, and the kitchen going underneath the trailer. The only time we're going to be able to flush that out is next spring, which we'll do with a pressure hose. We'll go over that procedure when it's time for sure, just to make sure we get out all that antifreeze. And to be quite honest, it does take quite a bit of flushing, but once it's gone, there's no residual smell, and it just gets better with time as well. So we'll go over a couple things before we wrap it up. So we were going to talk about the siphon hose. So basically it's pretty simple. This end is what you'll find on a water delivery tube hose for a toilet. So I bought a cheap one at Home Depot and I cut it off, and then I basically just fitted this PVC vinyl tubing on. You can make it any length you want, and then you can siphon the antifreeze into the system. I just put it in a Ziploc bag till next year. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit of antifreeze in it. So